Hello and welcome to Overtime Hockey Talk. I'm Mark Paul alongside Justin Baker. Justin, how's it going today?
Good, Mark. Always looking good, apparently.
Oh, I actually, before we started, I was down here and I had a cutoff on and I was like, oh, that just looks weird. I could do it, but it just looks a little weird on,
Cut off.
on
You
this.
look like Mac from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right. Yes,
That's cool.
100%. I think on today's show, playoffs we're almost to the end of round 2, believe it or not. I mean, we've got some game 6s left to go here, and no series has been solved. And that's pretty remarkable after seeing like 3-0 and 3-1 series leads for some of these teams. You would have thought that one of these series would have ended by now.
Yeah, and especially like a lot of the first round series, I think there were a few of them that ended a little bit sooner than maybe we had hoped. So I think the NHL is getting their way when they, in terms of marketing and ticket sales.
Yes, I suppose tonight is game 5. Colorado, Dallas. There is a chance that we don't go all the way to 6 games for every series. Let's start with that series because it is tonight. Maybe you're watching this, it's already over, but what are your thoughts so far on this series? We'll jump in particularly with Valeri Nichushkin and him being suspended for 6 months. But before we jump into that, just your thoughts on this series, Dallas and Colorado.
Yeah, to me, it's a clear lack of depth for Colorado. Obviously, they're very top heavy from the forward position. And you look at, similar to the Edmonton series, they've got a lot of guys up front that are playing, massive 20-plus minutes from the forward group. And, when you look at Dallas, they're able to utilize Jamie Benn, Logan Stankoven, all these guys on, the second and third line that are contributing and really producing. And, of course, we're getting good goaltending out of, Ottinger, which is what I firmly expected. But for me, it's been a surprise to see the lack of depth from, the forward group up front for Colorado right now.
Yeah, I mean, Dallas is really stacked, and I think we knew that coming into these playoffs. I mean, they are one of the favorites to win the Stanley Cup. They have been all year, and if there's one thing they have on Colorado, it certainly is that depth. Like the fact that, hey, Tyler Seguin is down the lineup, and you're like, hey, maybe he can do something, and he has made an impact on this series so far, and he's been pretty darn good, and maybe the impact, like, you're taking Joe Pavelski, who's not playing bad, and you're pushing him down the lineup because you've got guys who can slot in ahead of him now, and that is huge. I mean, yeah, Pavelski, I get it, like 1 assist in these games, or in 11 games these playoffs. He has yet to score, which is very unusual, but I got to think at some point he'll pop out of the weeds somewhere. He'll get some dirty goal or in around the net, but this team is just stacked full at the forward position, and after the trade deadline, bringing in Chris Tanev, I mean, if there was a missing piece for any team in the National Hockey League where, like, you drop that puzzle piece in and the whole puzzle rises in 3D and, like, turns into gold because you completed the puzzle, it may be Chris Tanev.
Yeah, very well could be, right? And if you had told me going into the playoffs here that, Roope Hintz and Joe Pavelski and Matt Duchene would not be even, in your top 5 scorers on this team, I would have said Dallas is done. Forget about him. And, to be able to, again, to get that contribution from those guys lower in the lineup has been just so huge. And Chris Tanev, like you said, is fitting like a glove in this lineup. He's allowing guys to slot in perfectly and not putting a lot of pressure on other guys. I mean, he's been a beast out there. I've loved watching him.
Yeah. As far as the Avalanche go, I mean, I think they're playing, the way that we expect them to play. They're playing fast. They're really keeping up with Dallas as far as playing really heavy. Like, they've been throwing around their weight. I mean, it looks like Roope Hintz is pretty banged up. He's not going to actually go tonight at all. And I think Colorado's been able to at least attempt to match them. Like, they don't look physically overwhelmed by the Dallas Stars. But goaltending, Georgiev just has not been able to make that extra save, and Jake Ottinger has, and that's been a huge difference. That's what it might come down to is, hey, the goaltending on Dallas is just a little bit better right now. And it just is what it is. And that's kind of what we looked at Colorado and went, you might not be able to win with Georgiev. Like, yes, you won with Kemper. I think when Kemper was on the Avs, he was much better and more highly touted than Georgiev ever has been.
Oh, yeah, without a doubt.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I think everybody looked at Kemper as a legit number 1, right? There was no question about it. Whereas Georgiev, I mean, yes, he's a number 1, but that's out of necessity, right? They don't have anybody else.
Like an okay 1A if you have someone else who's there and can play, which is fine in the regular season, but come playoff time, he has these moments where he just can't seem to handle it. But hey, Colorado is still in this. They're down 3-1. They had an awful beginning of game 4 because they walk into that game and like they practiced that morning. Nichushkin is there. All is good. And then they get to the game essentially. And it's, hey, by the way, he's not going to be here. And also he's going to be suspended. Hey, let's shift our lineup around because let's face it, he's a pretty darn important part of their lineup. And they came out in that first period and just looked like they were lost.
Yeah, deflated. They were deflated.
Absolutely. We can all understand. And there's, obviously Nichushkin, he needs help. And that is the number one thing here for anybody. Like, you got to remember these guys they're human beings. He's not a piece of shit. There's kind of this attitude that like he made his bed and he's, like he's got a problem. He has a disease and he's going to get help for it, and feel bad for the guy. You also feel for the Avs, somebody who, they're friends with, they've supported. This happened last year and they pushed through, and you think that, oh, we supported him and therefore he should be better. Like it's not I know it's Jack Johnson. He maybe made some remarks and that's fine. I just say, it has nothing to do with you. When it's someone else's problem, like, it has nothing to do with you. It's not because he doesn't like you. It's just he's got a disease and he has to deal with it. And so it's one of those moments where you're like, you got to be able to pull away. Like, yes, it's the playoffs. Yes, it's the Stanley Cup, but he's a human being. Got to worry about that first. And I think for the Avs, going into game 6, it'll be much easier to deal with that than it was the very beginning of game 5, where they looked completely lost.
Yeah, I suspect Colorado's going to come out, full steam ahead firing, for this next game. And it is unfortunate, but, similar to, coaches will always say this, but similar to losing a guy to injury, right? You just have to go next man up at this point and get it done. There's no excuses.
Yep. Normal playoff stuff in some cases. And to be frank, he's missed a lot of time. Like, he was in the player assistance program earlier in the year. He was last year. Like, he has missed a lot of time. So this is not a team that's not adapted to playing without Nichushkin. Are they better with him when he's 100% and he's there? Absolutely. He's got 9 goals in the playoffs?
Leading the league in goals was that
leads the playoffs in goals. Yeah. So it is a big loss. Can Colorado pull themselves out of the hole? I don't know. But if there's one team that maybe is capable of pulling themselves out of this hole, it is probably the Colorado Avalanche. But speaking of pulling themselves out of a hole, the Carolina Hurricanes, they were down 3-0. It's now 3-2 in this series. Rangers fans are praying to the Lord that they are not about to make history, feudal history. Hey, everyone's kind of coming around here. Jake Gensel's coming around, and the Carolina Hurricanes look the way that we thought they should. Do you think there's any chance they go win 2 more?
There's a little chance, but I think at some point, Shesterkin's too good of a goaltender to let this happen. I think, he's not going to lose 4 in a row, let's be honest. And I think, how crazy would it be? It cracks me up. I immediately thought about this when I saw the post that Jacob Trouba just won the Mark Messier Award for leadership. And then they turn around and lose 4 straight in the series. Like, what kind of leader is that?
All on him.
Right. Yeah, I can't see it. Don't get me wrong. If maybe they had a little bit more firepower, Jake Gensel's been fine. And, Andrei Svechnikov isn't scoring as many goals as maybe I had thought he would at this point in the playoffs. But, hey, I think if there's a team capable of doing it, Carolina is not one that I would count out, but I just don't see it happening.
Okay, yeah. I guess I would. Obviously, there's always a chance. It is so hard to win that many games in a row. And, you pour everything you have into game 4 and then into game 5. And the Rangers, I don't think we've seen their balls to the walls yet in this series. I think it's going to come in game 6. That's going to be a darn hard game to win if you're the Carolina Hurricanes, because I think the Rangers are going to go and give you all they've got, because you don't want to go back to a game 7. It's embarrassing. And you don't want to have that pressure. Like, you just go in and you win game 6, and that's what I think will happen. But am I hoping that Carolina makes history? Sure, because it's fun to watch. I have no stake in the game. I'm always rooting for the crazy thing to happen, the history to be made. Remember those old NHL playoff commercials? It was like, what was it? Was it history? Something like history is made. Like it would be like
Oh, yeah,
somebody
yeah.
going in on a breakaway and it would slow down and it would be, some iconic playoff thing. We'll have to find those. We'll put
Oh,
them on
there's an
tape.
Instagram account I follow that'll play these old Stanley Cup commercials. It's fantastic.
Nice. Yeah, we'll put that account into the description below. You can go check that out. You can send it to me later. Oilers Canucks. Maybe the best series of the second round. Tied 2-2. It has been, now maybe not in terms of pure offensive, just knock down the doors and go nuts, tons of shots on goal for both teams in the same game, but it has been certainly a fun game, tons of drama, or a fun series, tons of drama. And the Oilers go to none other than Calvin Pickard in game 4, and they win that game by setting up a freaking Chinese wall in front of him. I think they allowed 21 shots through that game, and until late in the game, nobody could get anything through. Ultimately, Oilers win with less than a minute left in that one. What are your thoughts on this series?
If you had told me Calvin Pickard was going to come into this one, I would have been like, cool, it's game 4 and they're done. They're down 3-0, and that's why he's coming in. So you got to give it to the coaching staff there in Edmonton, because, man, it takes some big huevos to want to go from Stuart Center to a guy who's played 0 playoff games in his career.
Chris
right?
Knobloch said, head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, he said that it looked like Calvin Pickard had, I quote, played 100 playoff games, unquote.
Yeah, I mean, he looked good, but the bigger question for me in this series is, where has Elias Pettersson been? Right? He's been non-existent. I mean, he was pretty non-existent a lot in the first round series, got called out by his coach, and then now this last presser, he gets called out again.
That's a lot of call-outs in like a 2-week span.
Right.
Rick
he signs the big contract this season, right? He wants to be the guy. And I kind of feel for him a little bit, because if you look at the lineup for Vancouver, I mean, right now you look at that top line with Suter, Miller, and Besser. They're playing good, playing some very good hockey. But then below that on their third line, they've got Dakota Johnson, who's putting up goals. Connor Garland and Elias Lindholm all look very good, right? So you don't...
Garland's been really good.
Yeah, and if I'm, Rick Tocchet, I don't want to break up either one of those lines. So who are you playing with Elias Pettersson? I mean, you've got Mikheyev and Sam Lafferty, and that's really about it. So there's no big offensive weapon they can throw in with him, I think, right now. And you don't want to, again, break up those other 2 lines. It's all on him to generate some offense. And, maybe he needs somebody to play with. But, man, if he wants to take, that big payday, he better produce.
He already got the big payday.
That's what I mean. Yeah, he was crying for it, right? So let's go. Let's see it.
Yeah, absolutely. I have to think there's a possibility that he's hurt. But honestly, at this stage of the game, I would guess that probably 75% of the league has something that is making them uncomfortable headed into a game. And that just is what it is. It sucks when you're hurt. I mean, I've played through injuries, granted, not at the level that these guys are playing, but I've played through injuries where I have what looks like 2 kneecaps, or I have a huge cut through some part of my leg or my arm. Like I have been in pain and played through it and played well. And you can, in some ways, it's a mental thing, and but at this stage of the game, at this stage in these guys' career, especially somebody who's been in the league for more than 5 years, that you're going to have to play through pain. And so I just think it's not an excuse anymore. You got to do what you got to do. Like, you look at Leon Draisaitl a couple of years ago in the playoffs, where he basically had no legs. And he might as well have been out there like the guy from Monty Python. Like, it's merely a
flesh wound.
Flesh wound, yes. And he's got no legs just dangling around out there, and he was still doing something. So we're going to have to go take Leon Draisaitl's face and put him on that guy. That'll be
the Black Knights always triumph.
That's perfect. Okay, now that series is tied at 2. Probably the most up in the air series. Could really go either way. Where do you think we're going here in the best of 5 now?
Whew. Yeah, the best of 3 here to finish it off.
Best of 3, sorry.
Yeah.
My math. I was told that there wasn't going to be any.
You know what? I can't pick against. I mean, okay, my head says Edmonton, but my heart wants Vancouver, just because I like you. I want to see some chaos. I've got no skin in the game. I'd love to see Vancouver pull this off. And again, like to see where, Connor McDavid is after the season, after losing again in the second round and not getting to the finals and all this other stuff. So part of me kind of wants to see that.
I'm going to say this. I think that the Edmonton Oilers have paid some motherfucking dues. Like, these guys have been through the ringer, especially Draisaitl, McDavid. And you know what? Hyman has not been in Edmonton that long, but he was in Toronto before this. So he basically went from a team that can't win in the first round to a team that can't win in the second round. And Edmonton reminds me a lot of the Colorado Avalanche in 2021. I guess 2022, when it was like, are the Avs ever going to win in the second round? This team seems like they're good enough, but they always seem to run into that one team that stuffs them. And, it's been Vegas before. But here they are against Vancouver, a team that, in my opinion, they should be able to beat. And they're going against a guy who was in the AHL for most of the season. And now, not to take anything away from Shelovs, he's been great. But I think this is the Oilers series to lose. Based on how Pettersson's played, there's clearly some injuries there, and they're getting frustrated. And I think this is the Oilers series to lose. If they lose this one, it's bad. For Vancouver, this is all gravy. Nobody expected them to really even maybe make the playoffs, but that would have been, if we could just make the playoffs, it would be really great and fun. So here they are in the second round. They're 2 wins away from going to the conference finals. It would be awesome for Vancouver, but Edmonton is really the one that needs this. And I would love to see McDavid in the finals. We got to see these. I'll cheer for Vancouver in the next round, probably. I don't know if they can beat Dallas. I don't know if Edmonton can beat Dallas either, but they're just pretty darn good. But I think Edmonton at least has the super high end where truly anything can happen.
I mean, so here's the thing. You look at last year's numbers for the Stanley Cup final, right, between Florida and Vegas, and they were very meh numbers, right?
Are you talking about audience views?
Sorry. Yeah, the views. Yeah, getting a Canadian team in there would be huge. And, if you're the NHL and if you're just a hockey fan in general, you want the best players to compete for the Stanley Cup. So I would love to see McDavid get a shot at it. Now, whether it's this year or next year is a whole other story. Because, again, I don't know if they've got enough depth to get past Dallas. But the bigger concern I have for Edmonton, even if they get past this series, is how long can you play guys like McDavid and Draisaitl 25, 30 minutes a night before they just run out of steam?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. And that really is where you may want to win this series in 6 games. If you can.
Yep.
If you're going to have any hope and resting your guys. Yeah, I think it'll be a fun, next 3 games or 2 games. I'm hoping for 7. Just give me 7 games of all these series. It'd be great. There really has been no passenger series. No series where you're like, this one's dumb. This is boring. Pass. Next. They've all been great. There's been some games where individual teams dominate, but really all the series as a whole, they've all at least been interesting. The Florida Panthers leading the Boston Bruins 3-2 now. What are the chances? The Boston Bruins blew a 3-1 lead last year in the first round of the Panthers, almost did it to the Leafs in round 1 this year, and now they have a chance to do it to someone else, i.e. the Florida Panthers, in round 2. And I want to Swayman can do it. I think we all believe that Swayman can absolutely win a game. Can he go and win 3 in a row against the mighty Panthers?
Yeah, that's the question mark, right? So Marchand, you don't know where he is, if he's going to be available. But regardless, it's been all Swayman, right? Like you said, he's the reason they're in this. He's the reason they've scratched out a couple games here. But I think it's over. I don't think, Barkov and Tkachuk and those guys are going to want to have to go 7. And, it's just, they're going to end it pretty soon here, I think.
Okay. Yeah, hey, Swayman stole game 1, and he managed to steal game 5. I don't know. Stealing, it looks like the only way they're going to win is if he steals every game.
Yeah, and I think after the way that last game ended with that last goal, very controversial with the goaltender interference, I think Florida's going to be pissed. They're going to come out swinging hard. They're going to play very chippy. They're going to play very hard in front of Swayman, and they're probably going to knock him around a little bit. So we'll see.
Let's speaking of goaltender interference, let's go there for a second, because I don't remember a playoff where there were more goals that you went, I don't know if that's a goal. Or you're like, I think that one's going to be a goal. And then it isn't, or it is, like in Sam Bennett's case, at the tying goal. And there has just been numerous times where there's been a goaltender interference. It looks like maybe it shouldn't count, and now it's counting. And what are your thoughts on goaltender interference? Let's just take ourselves away from it all. You, as a goaltender, how do you feel? What are you willing to put up with? Or what should these goalies have to put up with? And what is just not fair?
Man, it almost seems like we're getting to a point where we're going to get back to, I know you remember this very vividly, but 99, where it's like foot in the crease, like that's it, like goal doesn't count kind of crap, with Brett Hull and the Dallas Stars, and Dominik Hasek still haunts me to this day. But to me, literally, it's very subjective, right? So from a goaltender's point of view, right, the whole thing is, was he able to make a save? Did the player interfere with his ability to make the save? And as a referee, how do you put yourself in the goalie's shoes? Because for me, again, it could be the simplest or the lightest of taps, and it could, throw me off just a little bit as far as, when you're trying to move side to side. If you just get in there a little bit, you could really throw off that rhythm. And then again, a lot of guys, goaltenders like myself, I use my stick what's the right way to put it? But I balance and use put a lot of weight on my stick sometimes. And so if you, for example, I noticed with Bobrovsky, that last goal in the last game, he lost the stick. Would that throw a goaltender's rhythm off, or his ability to move side to side and really make the save, right? And does it distract you, right? That interferes with your ability to make the save. And again, it becomes so subjective, and the refs making that interpretation on what their ability to continually to be able to make that save is. And, it's a very gray area. There's no black and white defined, like this is goaltender interference, this is not goaltender interference in the rule book. So that's the problem. And we just don't have enough consistency where it seems every single game, right, where you're like, oh yeah, that's absolutely goaltender interference. And then, like you said, boom, it's a goal.
Yeah. It's funny when it's not your team, it's very easy, I think, to go, I could see how that'd be. Like, there's a lot where, hey, that should count. Like, let's be honest, the goal, like the one with Swayman, where Swayman was interfered with, and essentially it was Swayman isn't going to be able to make that save anyways, so we're not going to disallow the goal. That's the right call. But if you can look at it and go, he was nowhere near making that save. Like, the puck was on its way in when he got interfered with. I'm okay with that.
But the problem is the rule doesn't state, would he be able to make the save? It says, does that interfere with his ability to make the save?
You could say that he wasn't going to make the save anyway, so therefore it wouldn't have mattered. There was no ability to make a save. He couldn't have made the save anyways.
I agree with you, but it still doesn't go back to the fact that he would have had a chance to try and make a save. And in this case, it just, yes, I completely agree with you. I don't think even if he wasn't interfered with, he wouldn't have made the save. But again, it still impeded his ability to try and make the save. And ultimately, that is what the rule book defines. But again, when you have refs interpreting their ability to make a save, and now they're putting that spin on it, would he have made the save anyways? And now you're making rules based upon that, which isn't even stipulated in that rule.
Yeah, there is a lot of gray, for certain. There's a lot of gray. And, when I think about how the position began and how it's evolved, it used to be purely standing up. Like, nobody was going down into a butterfly. And so when you're standing up, there's a whole lot you can do to defend yourself. But when you're standing in the butterfly and your legs are like out here, like anybody puts a certain force on your groin, you're going to get destroyed. So there's certain like disadvantages now. Goalies are so good. The butterfly style, it works really well. You have to go down. That's the way you're going to have to play. You can never place a stand-up goalie style anymore. But a lot of the rules are written for somebody standing up, because when you're standing up, you can defend yourself. You can't defend yourself when you're in that butterfly. And it's almost like maybe the league hasn't fully caught up yet. Like, everything's sped up. Goalies change. And I know this is over the course of 30 years, but everything's sped up. The goalies have changed their style, and we still haven't really done a whole lot to go, you can't touch the goalie like that. There's only really, let's face it, there's 15 good goalies in the NHL? and the rest are just like mediocre, and sometimes they're good, sometimes they're bad. Some seasons they're good, some seasons they're garbage. There's not very many good goalies out there. And I think that if the league did more to protect goalies and just went, you know what? No, you can't. Like, you can go to these areas, you bump that goalie, it's not going to be a goal. That's how we're going to call it. I think there would be a lot more consistency. I actually think that more people would want to play goal because they wouldn't be looking at that position going, great, I'm going to be absolutely demolished like on a regular basis. And I'm just going to have to hope that I don't tear something or rip something. I think as much as I hate the idea that you can't go in and body up in front of a goalie, like, I don't have any problem if somebody's standing still, they body up in front of the net and your ass bumps into the goalie a little bit. I actually don't care about that. But when guys are going full speed into the net, I just think that you got to just go, nope, we're not playing that way. The game's changed too much. And I get it. It's exciting, but you want to make more people play goalie. Make it less hard to get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah, I agree with you. Not destroying the goaltenders, but to me, we're in a league now where they're promoting scoring, right? That's what they want. So of course, I think they're gonna leave the gray areas, and I don't think we're gonna see any rule changes until we have basically like an overtime game deciding or series deciding goal because of goaltender interference, or maybe a game deciding goal in the Stanley Cup Finals because of that sort of thing. There's really not going to be a lot for the league to be like, you know what? Yeah, you screwed up a game, but you had 4 other chances to close out the series. So big whoop, So in my opinion, I don't think because they want to promote scoring and they want to increase that, I think they're just going to let it fly.
Okay. All right. Let's jump over to coaching openings in the league. We know that the New Jersey Devils have been interviewing a lot of people. The Ottawa Senators hired Travis Green away from the Devils as he was the interim there. St. Louis has signed their interim coach. I mean, there are lots of opening. The Toronto Maple Leafs, they needed who head coach. I mean, we all know that's kind of the marquee job that is available right now. The Devils, still a great job. Who wouldn't want to go, living in New Jersey aside, who wouldn't want to coach that group? I mean, there's a lot of young, really good talent. They've just got Jake Allen. This is a team that I think has the potential to do some damage in the Eastern Conference. There is also this Rod Brind'Amour up in the air, the head coach of Carolina. He still has not been signed. He is a free agent at the end of the year. Like, this is it's an ongoing thing. There are a lot of coaches that I think could be really great coaches to coach in Toronto. I mean, we all know that Craig Berube is like kind of number 1 available. How do you feel about that? Craig Berube being the number 1 available head coach. Would you want him coaching your team?
Wouldn't mind him coaching my team. Absolutely not.
Wouldn't mind him.
But you know what? I mean, if I'm a team, don't get me wrong. I don't want to wait and miss out on a guy like Craig Berube because of something like this. But for me, I'm actually licking my chops at Rod Brind'Amour.
Right?
Yeah, he's the guy I want more than anything else. And I don't think anybody's come out and said anything because I think they're just waiting for the series to get over.
And I don't think you probably wouldn't be able to. It would probably be some kind of tampering if the Leafs were like, we're very interested.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Here's a scenario I don't think many people thought of. Like, obviously, Travis Green gets swooped up by Ottawa. And I think teams, once Craig Berube signs somewhere, you're going to see dominoes fall pretty quick. But what if they fall too quickly and now Rod Brind'Amour, his only option is to go back to Carolina or bust? Like, that would kind of suck.
Yep, that is true.
That whole FOMO thing, because again, I think, right now we're hearing finalists, right? And in Seattle, I think Todd McClellan looks like their guy, maybe with Dan Bylsma up there at the top of their list. And obviously Craig Berube and again, Todd McClellan in Toronto right now. But yeah, I got to think that, eventually these coaches are going to start getting snagged up because, again, you don't want to miss out. And, if you're sitting around waiting for Rod Brind'Amour, what if they come back and win the series and now it's 2 or 3 more weeks before you can talk to them?
And if Rod Brind'Amour comes back and they win this series, then I'm going to go ahead and say that he's going to stay. I thought that when they were down 3-0, if this was a sweep, I thought there was a chance that Carolina goes, you know what? We like you, but it's just we can't seem to get over the hump. So what makes us think that you're going to get over the hump next time? Like, you've been here long enough. I mean, there's a chance of that. And now, yes, Rod Brind'Amour, really good coach, really good regular season coach, a great system, still hasn't won he's never won a cup. whereas Craig Berube, of course, has won a cup. Although, outside of that one miracle year, I don't know that he's won a playoff series. Or if he has, it's one. It's very few. So that, I mean, and that St. Louis Blues team, that was their one hurrah. And it seems like he is probably the fit in Toronto as far as what they need, which is a coach who's going to come in, hold guys accountable, kind of be a little bit of a dick. Like, Sheldon Keefe was a good coach. I think there's a chance he actually becomes a coach in New Jersey. I think he would be a really good fit in New Jersey. I think wherever Sheldon Keefe goes, he's going to have more success than he did in Toronto. I think he's a good coach. I think the team and him, there was just he hit a wall and he needs a fresh start. But I think he's a good coach. I mean, wherever he goes, he's going to win. And it's just a matter of how far they go in the playoffs. But same ilk as like Bruce Boudreau. Like, he's going to go somewhere. He's going to do really well. That team's going to be good at what they do. And you'll see how far they can go. Maybe they can't win in the playoffs, but he could definitely get a team maybe dug out from under some spot to get him back into the playoffs, playing well in the regular season. Whether he can do more than that, I don't know. But I think Craig Berube, he would definitely hold everybody accountable. That is for sure.
Yeah. And, Craig Berube, to answer your question, he did win in the second round, or went to the second round and lost to the Colorado Avalanche when they, in 2021, 21-22. But hasn't, besides that Stanley Cup, that was really the only first round win he's ever had.
And that was as an interim coach. I think that he would bring the accountability necessary. He has won a Stanley Cup. He's been effective. I think that it's more of a player personnel thing in St. Louis than it was a coaching job. But I also, I just don't know what else would be out there for the Leafs that would really fit. Like, you can't go from Sheldon Keefe and bring in someone else who is going to be nice and fluffy with these guys. Like, you can't have a Game 7 speech again telling guys to go out there and have some fun. No way. No.
I mean, they need a veteran presence back there, I think. And, again,
they need to have their asshole clinched a little bit. Like, they need to be, they shouldn't be loose all the time.
Yeah. And you know what? I mean, again, whether that's Craig Berube or somebody else like Todd McClellan or, again, Bruce Boudreau or even Rod Brendamore, I think, again, they need a veteran guy who's been around for a while. Now, if you go with somebody new, fresh, a fresh face, maybe an AHL coach, somebody who's got experience winning there, that's okay. But I still think they need maybe, you have an assistant like Bruce Boudreau come in and be like that assistant coach back there who's ready to take over or at least provide that guidance, right? Because to me, I think they were definitely lacking that experience behind the bench. And no offense to Sheldon Keefe, but yeah, I think they needed a little something there, again, with accountability for sure.
Yeah, I think too, you're going to go out. I'm just at this point, I'm kind of assuming the Leafs are going to hire Craig Berube. I think the only coach that I would say from a pure coaching standpoint that I would want more would be Joel Quenneville, which I don't think that's happening. What I've seen out there is that the Leafs don't want to deal with the PR hit that they would experience hiring Joel Quenneville. Like, my guess is probably similar to like Mike Babcock going and signing in Columbus. Hopefully it doesn't turn out that way for Quenneville, but he signed in Columbus because Columbus goes, like, we'll bring him in and he can do that in this small market. That's probably what Joel Quenneville is going to have to do. He's going to either have to go somewhere and be an assistant. Now, wouldn't that be interesting? What if you had Craig Berube and then Joel Quenneville as an assistant?
Now, that would be okay, actually. I wouldn't mind seeing that.
I don't know. That might be a pretty big power struggle. I'm not sure. I don't know how those two guys would handle that.
Yeah, we'll see.
I don't think that Toronto's going to go out and make this big splash, bring him in. I think from a coaching standpoint, I think he'd be absolutely perfect. Absolutely perfect if he hadn't have ignored what he ignored. And it's just, that whole situation, I'm not going to touch it, but.
You heard Chicago's getting sued again, right? The Blackhawks?
Yeah, I think that one's some lady suing the Chicago Blackhawks for what a harassment or something like that.
Yeah.
I want to say that happens probably more than you think, and it's just news because it's the Blackhawks and not what a harassment or something. I don't know why. I'm way behind. San Jose Sharks or something like that. There is one other team that is definitely looking for a coach would be the San Jose Sharks, which I think are looking at totally different options because of where they are. They got the first overall pick in the entry draft. And my guess is they go out and they're going to bring in somebody a little more green to try and wrangle these kids in together and make something happen. I don't think they can have another year like they had this year.
No, I don't think with who you're getting with that first overall pick, you're going to have another year like you did. You might finish, third to last. You might have that third or fourth pick in the draft, I think. But yeah, you're definitely
Macklin
not.
Celebrini just is not he's not as big as Bedard, or I think that's going to be, if there's something that makes it so that he's not as effective in his rookie year, it's going to be that he's a little bit smaller. So that would be something that I'd be worried about. Do you want to bring him into that situation? I guess San Jose is a pretty
But the nice thing is for San Jose, they've got Couture to play that number one spot, and you
Sure.
can put Celebrini in that
if
second line.
Couture, if he comes back.
Yeah, of course.
We'll see.
But I think regardless if you're San Jose, I would still try to target another guy who could play that center position. That way you don't have to put that pressure on Celebrini to come in there and be the savior from day one.
Yeah, I would agree. It'll be, there are some decent pieces there, and at least high profile guys are still there that you can stick them on your third line and be okay for a little while. One other team that needs a head coach, the Winnipeg Jets. And definitely a less of a, I'll say, desirable place to go and live during the year. This is a good team. It's a team that defensively was very good. Yeah, they couldn't keep up with the Colorado Avalanche. They need to make some tweaks, but I would think that this would be a decently appealing job. If you're a head coach, your job isn't to go and pull this team out of the cellar. Your job is just to kind of prop them up a little bit, see if you can win a round or two. Of course, the Stanley Cup is your goal. But if you were to go in there and win a series, you'd be doing your job in Winnipeg, because they haven't been able to win a series in a while. Any thoughts on who may end up in Winnipeg as a head coach?
No, and I haven't really heard much. I know they're interviewing Craig Berube. I think they did yesterday.
Yeah, I think he's making the rounds.
Yeah, of course. And I'm sure Todd McClellan and other guys have or will get there as well. For me, really, this is a wild card. I think whoever you bring in, to me, I want to bring in somebody who has experience with goaltenders, working with goaltenders, right? Not that I think Hellebuyck needs any help, but I think you need to...
Someone who can manage him.
Him, but also find a way to, if he does tank like he did in the playoffs this year, right? You're able to coach him up and bring him back, and say, hey, what? We're gonna tweak this about your game, or we're gonna have you play this, or maybe we're gonna give you a night off here. Find those little things to be a little bit of a goalie whisperer, if you want to call it that. But again, I look what Craig Berube, right? He had in St. Louis. He did not have anywhere near as good as goaltending, and still managed to pull it off. So maybe a guy like that, you look at it and you say, hey, you know what? He did more with a lot less.
True, and you look at what Rick Tocchet has done with Vancouver's goaltending. Demko goes down, and seemingly Casey DeSmith and particular Shelovs, they haven't missed a beat. You've got Edmonton, who decides to go with their backup goalie, Calvin Pickard, and things work out. You got to have a pulse on your goaltending. And I think probably now more than ever, maybe a older coach where they went, goalies, you figure it out. You guys are over there. But a newer coach going, hey, a goalie is so important, and so is the management of that goalie. This isn't just, let's put Martin Brodeur in for 74 games this year. We only put him in when he needs when he has diarrhea. They never took Brodeur out. I remember it was Chris Terreri, I think, played 6 games one year as a backup.
Bro,
just crazy.
And it's going to be even more challenging next year for Winnipeg, too, because I think Laurent Brossoit played so well when he was in for 20 games that he's essentially priced himself out of Winnipeg, because they're tight up against the cap. Hellebuck's contract is eating up a big chunk of it. And so you're going to have to go and get a guy for $1 million. And, it's going to take a guy who knows the goaltending position very well, or at least the intricacies of playing goal, because you want to go out and find those depth pieces in goal. For example, if you do have to play Calvin Pickard, or you have to go to Shelovs, you've got guys who can come in and fill in. And so maybe that might be a James Reimer, or maybe you can convince Cam Talbot to come and play backup. on a 1 mil deal. I don't know, but they're going to have to do something.
Yep, for sure. Okay, that is our show. Still have second round. Second round will end, and we'll do some kind of conference final preview before those begin. And until then, you can find us on TikTok. And just search OT Hockey Talk on TikTok. I'll have the links in the description below. You can find us on Instagram. And, you can call Justin leave Justin a quick voicemail.
Wouldn't that be something?
Just doxing you on here. I'm sure you'd just get so many calls. Tons of them. Give me what's the one team, most shocking team that will win in this second round?
Ooh,
it surprised me.
Most shocking is probably going to be Vancouver.
Okay, you got the Canucks. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that the Carolina Hurricanes are going to bop off your New York Rangers.
Didn't you pick them for the second round? So I think you got to stick with them, man.
Got to stick with them.
But my girlfriend team can't lose.
They still have a chance. And yeah, I mean, my girlfriend, I've got the Canadian teams. Whoever comes out of that series, I'm cheering for, but I also really like Jim Nill, and I'm rooting for Jim Nill. So I'm going to have I guess my heart is torn over there because definitely rooting for them in that series. And then as far as the Panthers and the Bruins go, either one of them can lose again, and I'll be happy. Just out of spite. All right, that is our show. Again, find us on TikTok, Instagram, all those places. And until then, enjoy hockey, and we will talk to you guys next time.